Shabbat Shalom, everyone. This week's portion, the parasha of Pinchas, Pinchas the son of Elazar, the son of the high priest Aaron, is given by God today the covenant of peace and the covenant of priesthood. This reward comes for his act in the last week's portion, the parasha of Balak, of smiting the head of the tribe of Shimon that had relations with one of the Midianites, and he kills them both, and God gives him his blessing. And the bizarre thing that happens in this portion is that God wraps together three concepts that apparently do not fit together. He gives them the covenant of peace, the covenant of being a zealous, and the covenant of priesthood. What is the connection between these three words? Peace, being a zealous, and being a priest. We must understand that in this week's portion, the word kanai, kanaut, which means fanaticism, or means to be jealous, or in our terms, being zealous to God, is something that if you have the right amount of, you are blessed. Why is that so? We have to go back to the story of Jacob and his children. When Shimon and Levi destroy the city of Shechem because they're very zealous, they're very fanatical about what happened to their sister Dinah that was kidnapped and raped. Then Jacob says, I'm not too happy with you. Not for what you did, but for how you did it and why you did that. And on his dying bed, he gives them his blessing, which has criticism in it. And he tells them that I should spread you amongst the people of Israel. Because jealousy and zealousness and fanaticism does not go together with being in the land of Israel. Not only that it doesn't go together, but too much of fanaticism can actually destroy the country. And that's what I'm going to do. He tells them, I'm going to spread you around. You're not going to have a place to dwell. Shimon does not have a place in the land of Israel. He is annexed to the tribe of Judah. And Levi doesn't have land at all. He is spread out in 42 cities around Israel, and another 6 refugee cities. Why is that so? Because fanaticism is something that you need in your life, but just in the right quantity. Without jealousy, without fanaticism, there is no structure to the world, and there's no advancement to the world. Imagine yourself a scientist that does not protect, that does not defend his thesis, his medical thesis, or his scientific thesis. He lets people walk all over him. Or imagine yourself a football player that does not, he's not very zealous, or he's not very a fanatic for his team. Where does that put him? That's why the right amount of fanaticism is needed. And that is brought down in the priesthood. The priests, their job is to educate, their job is to take the people of Israel and to tell them what is wrong with what they're doing. And no one likes to be wrong, but they put a mirror opposite the people of Israel. That's where the priesthood and fanaticism go together. But how does peace fit into all that? Well, peace, ladies and gentlemen, is not a compromise. Peace is not giving up on something. It's the wrong notion of peace. Peace in Hebrew is from the word shalem, from the word whole. And if you want to be whole with yourself, if the country wants to feel as whole, it needs to contain itself all kinds of views. And fanaticism is one of them. But more than that, if you want to be whole, if you want to feel that you're whole, you need to strive towards perfection. And striving towards perfection can only be achieved if you have a little bit of fanaticism that brings you forward. If not, you'll always stay mediocre. And in order not to stay mediocre, you need something to drive you forward. So you should strive towards perfection. And that's why priesthood and peace, which is shalom, and being a zealous come together in one covenant in this week's portion. Shabbat Shalom.